So how do you turn your investments into what I call a replacement paycheck? How do you get your investments to work for you? In the past, you've been working and you've been getting a twice a month, for most of us in America, paycheck. And when it's time to retire, that's one of the questions is, how do you get your investments to work for you? Well, there's a couple of approaches that you can take. One is quite literally to develop a portfolio that provides cash flow for you, and then you spend that cash flow. Another one is to let the portfolio grow, and then you're selling positions along the way. You're selling a little bit of the portfolio every quarter, every year, to raise cash flow for your expenses. I'll talk about both of those in the video here. First, let's talk about where you just design a portfolio and then you sell a little bit of your positions every year, twice a year, every quarter, whatever it is, to provide that monthly income. So with that, you could just have a traditional portfolio account and just have your financial advisor, or if you're managing your money yourself, just take out, maybe 4 times a year, sell a little position. If you're managing it yourself, that can be a fair amount of work. Not a whole lot, but it can be a fair amount of work. So maybe you just take out next year's living expenses out of the portfolio and you let your stocks do what stocks are designed to do, which is grow. And then to the extent it's in a taxable account, as you have to sell positions to provide that cash flow, then you're going to recognize the capital gains at that point, either if you've held it longer than 12 months, long-term capital gains, which here in the U.S. tends to be, not always, but tends to be lower than ordinary income rate. And you let your bonds do what they do best, which hopefully you have high quality, very short duration bonds, so there's not a whole lot of volatility in there. And what bonds do best, in my opinion, is really provide that buffer from volatility. But they also pay off, they also pay interest. So you take that interest payment, you'll also have some bonds that are maturing that you can use to pay your living expenses. And it can be a transition, right? We've gone our whole lives from putting money into our accounts, and now it's time to reap the benefits from that and to have our accounts working as hard as we worked in our working years. So that's a traditional account. Another approach is to use dividend paying stocks. I personally really like dividend stocks. And if you choose them wisely, one of the reasons that I like dividend paying stocks is if you choose them wisely, they have a history of raising the rate that dividends are paid every year at a rate faster than inflation. So it's not unusual for a company to announce an increase in the dividend payment occasionally. And historically, for solid companies, if you choose the right companies, that rate of increase happens at a rate faster than inflation. So let's say you've got, just for easy math, it'd be a big portfolio, but you have $100,000 a year of dividend payments coming every year. This year, well, in 10 years, if the companies you've invested in have raised the dividend rates higher than the rate of inflation, well, in 10 years, your spending power feels even stronger than it did when you started, which is a great situation when you're in retirement, because oftentimes people lock themselves into an investment that sounds good when they first retire because it can provide the income that they need for the first couple years, but maybe they underestimate how much they're going to need in the future years, and those cash flow payments don't keep up with them. I do want to say this is not financial advice. I'm not an accountant. I do recommend you work with a financial advisor. I suggest that you Google and find a fee-only financial advisor that knows your situation and can give you specifics on your situation. But in general, those are two approaches that you can take to have your investments provide a paycheck for you. Now, one of the things that people think about when they get ready to retire is annuities. And I want to talk about this a little bit because annuities are what I call designed to be sold, not necessarily designed to be purchased. And what I mean by that is the features that, kind of the standout features of the annuity are really designed to have like a wow factor. But there's no free lunch, right? So if it sounds too good to be true, it's not that they're not going to deliver the annuity, right? The annuity is a contract with typically like an insurance company, an insurance company that agrees to pay you so much per month, or whatever the terms of the annuity are. So that's a contract with that company, and they're going to honor that contract. But what I'm saying is there may be some things in that annuity that you're not aware of. Now, I'm not an annuity specialist. Far from that. Is my history of working as a financial advisor. I've never sold an annuity. You should know that. But I do caution you to read the fine print and to understand what the negatives are. For instance, there are some annuities that are like indexed to the S&P 500, and they have some downside protection. So, they say they give you most of the upside and they have some downside protection. Well, some typical features, some typical aspects in the contracts are, on the upside, maybe in any 1 month, you can only get 5%. If the S&P 500 moves up by 5%, let's say it moves up by, 10% in a month, or there's been months where it's been stronger. Let's say it's 12%. Oftentimes there's a cap on how much of that you can get. So, getting the upside, but not having all of the downside, right? That sounds too good to be true. So that's one thing that's typically in the fine print, and it's fine as long as you know this. Another thing that's typically in the fine print is you don't get the dividends that would the cash flows that would normally come off of the S&P 500 itself. So, certainly more than 15%, 15 to 30% of the returns over time with the S&P 500 come from the dividend return. So it's important you understand all aspects of it. Also, it's important to understand, what the incentives are of the person that is encouraging you to buy the annuities. Oftentimes, annuities have very high commissions and can be replicated in other ways that don't have those high commissions, that don't lock you in. But annuities are certainly super popular. There's people that have them and love them. So I'm not trying to be super negative on annuities. I'm just trying to encourage you to understand both the pros and the cons of annuities. The last thing I'll say is oftentimes there's a lockup period with the annuity where you can't get your money out. And I will share, the world has a way of changing pretty quickly. And when the world changes, it's nice to be able to get your money out if you need to. So that lockup period can also be a big negative. So those are 3 ways that your money can produce a paycheck for you. These aren't the only 3. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I do suggest that you Google and find a fee-only advisor for your specific situation to find out what's best for you. If you have found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit the like button. It really does help other people find this channel. I'm a young, growing channel. We're growing very quickly, so thank you for those of you that are taking a second and hitting the like button. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know what you liked about the video and maybe some topics that you'd like to see in the future. So until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Use this time wisely.